My name is Vincent Haskins. Most people tend to call me Vince. I'm 25 years old. I'm originally from Iola, Kansas, a small town in the southeastern part of the state, where I grew up. I recently moved to Overland Park, Kansas, where it's debatable as to whether or not that growing up process actually finished. So what am I? I'm a student, I'm a cashier, I'm an Eagle Scout, I'm a video blogger and podcaster for Geekvolution on YouTube, I'm a boyfriend, but most importantly, I'm a comic book collector. And now, without further ado, when you're sitting in a fancy chair, you must take an obligatory sip of tea. You know, a while ago, I had the thought that Wednesdays are actually a fairly big day for me. Wednesday's the day that comic books come out, new comic books. The entire week could be going wrong. My suit couldn't come back from the cleaners, or my car ran out of gas, or Lex Luthor stole my dog. I miss you, Scruffy. Any day that I have an excuse to come into a place like Pop Culture Comics here in Overland Park, it has a calming effect on me. I feel like I'm at home, I'm in my element. I take comics seriously because comic books are a medium. They should not be treated any differently than film or television or prose or wuzzy hootsid whatever. It's a kinetic medium. It is a visual medium.
Did you say comics were a kinetic medium?
Yes.
I agree.
I attended the University of Kansas in Lawrence, where I acquired a BGS in English Creative Writing. I also have an Associate of Arts degree in English from Allen County Community College. Despite the fact that I already have my bachelor's degree, I am attending Kansas City, Kansas Community College, where I'm taking classes to become an assistant to a physical therapist. Having an organized living space is entirely important to me. I'm a big proponent of having a place for everything and everything in its place. And to be honest, I take much the same approach to my comic books. Whatever. I'm extremely organized when it comes to collecting comic books. Collecting anything, as a matter of fact, but when it comes to collecting comics, I have these Excel spreadsheets where I catalog the title and the issue number, the volume number, the date, both the month and year, if the month is available, unless it's an annual, the publication information through the company and the writer specifically. The stuff that I own, I have separated into 3 different spreadsheets. I have 2 different folders. I have stuff that I own and stuff that I want. My comics that I want owned, and I have a mix of comics, and I also have my polls. Toys that I would like to have, I have a list of the Two-Face figures that I don't have. Speaking of which, I need to add the new Arkham City figure to that one because I do not have this yet. I will add that as soon as I stop recording this. I don't know if you guys can actually see what's on this shelf, but I collect Two-Face figures. Actually, I have 2 shelves of Two-Face figures, no pun intended. I think Batman has 2 major villains. 2 major villains that perfectly mirror his own psychoses. The first villain is the Joker, because he's an inversion of what Batman is. The other villain is Two-Face, a fallen public figure. For Batman, looking at Harvey Dent as Two-Face is a constant reminder to never step over that line, to never let himself kill someone, even if it's a criminal, because he could end up like this. When it comes to the geek and his domain, there's really 2 theories on how to display all your geek stuff. There's the first theory where you display it throughout your entire place. You have it loud and proud. You have it in every nook and cranny of your living space. But me, I prefer the idea of the single room. I prefer the idea of a central location for all of the geek stuff. I prefer the idea of the secret sanctum, if you will, the bat cave, if you want to call it that. The fortress, well, I would call it a fortress of solitude, but that implies a certain amount of single and loneliness that afflicts a lot of geeks. When it comes to the storage of my comic books, I like to have them in a viewable space, but I also like to have them in and out of the way space. So I have them in this big 4-door closet right here, to where I can pull out what I need to pull out when I need it. I have them all sorted into various boxes here. Unread stuff, things that I've not read. A shadow box where I store all my shadow comics. I have a big mix of general issues. I have all the Punisher stuff that I have read, and actually a lot of my Punisher stuff is in the unread boxes. And then I have my trade boxes here, and then I have some boxes that we give away for free comic book day and things like that when we do stuff with Geekvolution. I got into comics at an anime convention, coincidentally enough. I went there, and there was such... it was all games, anime, and webcomics, which is kind of a strange mix. And there was a dealer who had a box, a single milk crate box that had a bunch of Fantastic Four and Daredevil and Spider-Man. And I said to this guy, "Why do you have this here?" And he said, "Well, I thought maybe somebody would buy it." And I said, "You are right, sir." I loved it. It was Mark Waid's run. Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo, or however you say that gentleman's name, comics at an anime convention. And I hate anime. I detest anime. Some of the animes I like are Cowboy Bebop, the CV series, and the movie. They're both terrific. Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away are pretty good. Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust, and Vampire Hunter D are very good movies. Well, maybe hate's a strong word. For the longest time, I never considered myself a comic book collector. I considered myself a reader who would buy things and store them as a library. Maybe that seems like splitting hairs, and as time went by, I realized that's exactly what it is. I was splitting hairs. And I thought that, well, I'm collecting these comic books that I like, and I'm collecting comic books that I don't like because it features the characters that are featured in the comic books that I like. The bottom line is, I'm a completionist. I have to have every appearance of a particular character. So I started collecting specific characters that I found enjoyable. For example, I collect the Question. I am one hardcover away from having every Question appearance. I'm collecting the Marvel 2 Universe comic books. I have absolutely every appearance of Dark Horse Conan. And I would be a completionist with the Shadow, but as it turns out, comic books printed in the 40s, not cheap. But the biggest part of my collection is the Punisher. This is my Punisher collection. I've talked to some of my fellow comic book fans who think this is a little weird, maybe a little obsessive, I don't know. But I collect Punisher comic book appearances. All of them. All of them. The contents of these boxes are comic books that all feature the Punisher, whether he be the title character like the original miniseries from Stephen Grant, or he be a featured character like Daredevil 257. I feel the need to have it all, so I collect it all. You know, the strange thing about my comic book collection, Punisher and otherwise, is that they don't necessarily need to have monetary value for me to collect them. I'll keep them in nice condition to where they don't depreciate in value, but it doesn't matter to me whether I buy it in a trade or whether I buy the 4th or 5th reprint or whether I have the original. The reason I keep buying these things, the reason I keep collecting these things is because it has a lot of sentimental value to me. Due to legal reasons, I am not allowed to shoot any footage of the place that I work. For your viewing pleasure, I present to you a dramatic interpretation of my employment. So I'm a little bit of a foodie. I like to cook, and I like to cook healthy. And the reason that is, after I lost about 150 pounds, I got tired of eating salad. I started trying to find ways of cooking, low-fat ways of cooking, low-carb ways of cooking. And I explore different spice options. Like usually, when I make grilled chicken, I'll use parsley, sage, rosemary, thyme, and garlic. You could call it Simon and Garlic Funkle Chicken. So this guy's become my best friend. My fat-draining grill, whatever trademark version they want to call it. So I cook just about everything in this. I'll cook whole chicken breasts. I'll cook whole chicken. You can't hear me over the sound of the sizzle, can you? So when I plan out a meal, I plan it out with 4 different parts intended. I have meat, veggies, carbohydrates, and dairy. I've seasoned both of these with curry and garlic and salt and pepper. With the veggies, I actually added a little bit of red wine vinegar just to sweeten it up. Fitness was a huge part of my life. At my height, I weighed 360 pounds. So I bought some weights, I bought a pull-up bar, and I started working out. And I lost about 150 pounds. And it's amazing what a little determination and an entire year and a half's worth of work can do. I got into improv when I was at Allen County Community College. I had an improv class, and improvisational comedy specifically. But I do have some familiarity with just working scenes, whether it be funny or not. I am here to fight malnourishment, for I am bread man. When I left Allen County Community College, I went to Emporia State for a semester where I was inducted into the ranks of the Zoiks improv troupe. And Zoiks was a lot of fun. I did a lot of growing there, and I did a lot of, and I got a lot of experience from their comedy troupe. Allen County was a place that really afforded me a chance to spread my wings and really test out what improvisational abilities I had. 3 for 3! God, I love school zones. The first place that I tried improv was at the Kineticon convention in Connecticut. My brother and I dressed up as Mario and Luigi for the costume contest. So we decided to enter into the skit contest. I don't know what possessed me. I'd never really done any acting. I had no idea what I was trying to do. We went up there and we did ridiculous accents and pretended we were the Mario Brothers. And by the end of it, we'd had a competition from about 6 or 7 other skits, people who had really worked on their stuff, rehearsed it, and really tried hard. And my brother and I, we won. If this video gets shown to anybody who we beat at Kineticon in 2004, sorry, but we didn't rehearse any of that. I never thought that my geekdom could lead me to any romantic avenues, but I actually met my girlfriend through a comic book store. Astro Kitty Comics in Lawrence, Kansas was throwing a 5-year anniversary party, and I met her there. She was wearing a fairly geeky shirt that said Killer Bees on it and had bees that were bee puns from various different movies like The Terminator and Frankenstein and Hannah B. Lecter and things like that.
Vincent, collect me, Vincent.
I like to branch out a little bit and collect one figure of every character that I really enjoy. So I have a Thing, and I have a Wolfman, and I have an Elvis Presley. But for the most part, while it's not the only media that I consume, there are very specific things that I like to collect. Here are some highlights of my action figure collection. A Lee Falks the Phantom statue. This is actually a Valentine's Day gift from my girlfriend. A Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Galactus. An Art Adams Monkey Man. A Sideshow Collectibles Abe Sapien. This also is a gift from my girlfriend for our anniversary. A Marvel Icons Punisher. This is my favorite Two-Face. The Two-Face designed to look like Tim Sale's artwork. Since I own this, I have to mention it. It is a slipcase edition, black and white reprint hardcover series of all of the original Tales from the Crypt comics. Tales from the Crypt was a big contributor to the reason that the comic was created. Here are some signed books that I have. I've not met Richard Corbin, but I found this in a used bookstore. I actually bought it for half price and found his signature inside. Why would you sell this? I met Hector Casanova at a Lawrence convention, and I was shooting the breeze with him for a little bit, and he was signing this book for me, telling about the artwork that he did in it, and it was a fairly lengthy conversation. I started wondering what took so long to sign it, and he showed this to me, and he drew a picture of the main character, Frankenstein, on the inside of the page. Hector Casanova is a really nice guy. I do have a lot of comic book movies, but I'm going to show you some of the stranger highlights of my DVD collection. I also collect Dan Aykroyd DVDs. I have his popular movies like The Blues Brothers and The Ghostbusters. I also have some of his lesser-known movies like Earth vs. the Spider and Getting Away with Murder.
I need something I've read, you need something you've read. Let's scan. Ready, go. That's so not what I thought you were going to pick up. Because I was going to... Okay. I swore to God you were going to go for Killing Joke. And I was going to be like, oh, you stole mine. But I've not read this. Is this any good?
You know, what's interesting about these things is that Stan Lee does a lot of really interesting conceptual things, but the execution's not particularly sophisticated.
That seems to be a Stan Lee these days.
Geekvolution is really an outlet for performance. It gives me a chance to sharpen my wits. It allows me to talk about the things that I find interesting. It's a risk to say things like the Uncanny X-Men, because who's to say that they don't have cans somewhere? I find this stuff fascinating, and I want to impart that upon others. As I was going through writing school, I found that my strength was writing for plays, writing for the stage. There's a greater chance that you'll get something on stage than there is that you'll see something on screen. I've seen 3 of my plays make it to the stage. 2 of those plays were for Allen County. They were 10-minute plays. And then one of those plays was put on at Ottawa University, which was a 1-act play, which took about 45, 50 minutes. And it was a terrific experience. In fact, I've had people stop me at theater festivals and say, wait, you're that guy. You're that guy that wrote that play. And I said, yeah, it was performed once. How do you remember me? I know I tend to collect only specific types of things, but I really want that. Why should I be king of the nerds? Because I could probably take most of them in a fight. Okay, here's what it is. What makes a person geeky? A guy who puts a piece of cheese on his head and paints his body yellow and runs out to a football game just to cheer with his friends. What makes that any more socially acceptable than a guy who puts on a cape and goes to a convention because he likes to socialize with people of that same variety? So what should make me king of the nerds? Is that I realize that there is no difference between the regular man and the geek.